dive dive deep into yeah dive deep into Figma variables, what we can do with it, how it's gonna help us, so on and so forth. I hope everyone can see my screen. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. First, I'll start with my introduction. Like Manish has already informed you guys, I run a design and digital agency here in India. I have a experience of about half a decade now, and I am getting deep into designing with the help of my whole team. Right. So yeah, moving forward, before we get into Figma variables, we need to understand why we even need Figma variables and what it is actually as a sort, right? And to understand that, we need to understand what design system is. If you are a designer, if you are getting into UI UX designing, obviously design system is something you must have heard of, but you might not have complete understanding what it is. So if you try to understand a design system, every product consists of multiple screens. And I would say, when I say multiple, it's the numbers are beyond 100 or 200. It's way beyond our understanding how many screens would be there in Instagram, Uber, any Google products. Like, we can't even imagine how big, the this design of the whole product is. To have everything confined, or you can say to have everything consistent, we define these design system, which consist of style guides. Style guides are basically how your typography would be, what would be the size of the H1 heading, what would be the size of H2 heading, so on and so forth. We have other, what would be the, list of colors that you will be using throughout your design. There are some system colors, there are some brand colors. These would be the style guides. There would be effects, there would be drop shadow, there will be, inner shadow, multiple things defined into within this style guide. Apart from this, we will be having a component library. Library can consist of buttons. It can even have a layout. It can even have a card consists of multiple components, multiple text. So a design system is actually a defined, you can say, defined repository where you have all the things in a very particularly and consistently defined in a proper way, from where you can pick few things and you can use it in your design. If we go by the definition, it says a design system is a set of standards to manage design at scale by reducing redundancy while creating a shared language and visual consistency across different pages and channel. So if we try to understand it from a different perspective or different analogy, uh, we are communicating in English language. We can only do that because we know there are 26 alphabets in English language, right? Because of these words, we are creating words, and on the basis of those things, we are creating sentence, and on the basis of those, we are actually communicating. Same goes with the design system. Design system is like having the building blocks of your whole design or building blocks of your whole product. So you can, pick up some things from design system and use it in your design. This is majorly defined to have consistency. This is majorly defined so that a designer can focus on real design problems instead of, engaging in UI problems, like where spacing is off, the layout is not proper, maybe what color to use, what border size to use, so on and so forth, right? So whatever you see in any of the product, it is highly, I would say it's highly possible that they already have a design system and they're picking things from that design system. Okay, so as you can understand, like it's a huge repository. When you have something of this sort, something of this scale, then you should be having a proper naming convention. Naming convention that is consistent throughout the system, naming convention that is clearly understood by you as a designer, understood by your product manager as a manager, understood by maybe a developer. Everyone involved in the project, right, or maybe product, should be understanding. Obviously, the people who are in the engineering and design team, obviously it doesn't need to, we need to have clarity with the marketing team. That is totally different story. So to have the naming convention, we have design tokens. So design tokens actually help you define things, just not by the property of any particular element or style. It helps you define, it takes a step further and define you with the use case as well. Like, let's suppose if we see, I am the CEO of Minimal Tweaks, and here is my photo, right? I am also Anshul Gupta. I also co-founded this particular agency. That's why I'm a co-founder. I am a lead designer. I am a brother also. Again, I am a lead designer. You can say this is the instance of this particular thing, right? If in case the co-founder of the company changes, it should not be like that every other image should change. I can only change, I should have that kind of flexibility where I can only change this particular thing. Design token in itself, it's a very complex thing. If you get into the base, like, or maybe the very basic thing, it would be like the naming of this particular phase is what design tokens are called. So let me give you another example. Let's delete this. We have a rectangle, right? And this is of white color. I'll get my editor mode on. Okay. So let's have this orange color, right? So what we can say, this is orange 300, right? We can even have, this is also this hex code, right? This says that this color is this hex code. We can even name it that this is orange 300, right? So you can see it like one single element can have multiple names to it, right? And this is where design tokens come in. Okay. Obviously, we'll discuss like what exactly, how exactly we can define things in the further presentation. What is the use of it? What is the practical use of this particular thing? And how we need to go about it, right? So by definition, it says design tokens are all the values needed to construct and maintain a design system. It could be spacing, color, typography, object style, animation, etc., represented as data. Okay. These can represent anything defined by design, a color as a RGB value, an opacity as a number, a spacing value as a dimension token, anything, right? They are used in a place of hard-coded values in order to ensure flexibility around flexibility and unity across all the product experiences. So because of this design token, you can edit things without making it a mess for yourself. You can even add things by giving it proper name, and you can even duplicate multiple design style or maybe multiple component basis on the use cases. So moving forward, I'll go out of the editor mode, and to achieve these design tokens, Figma variables came in. We need to understand Figma variable is not something that is defined outside of Figma. Variables are not something globally understood. Variables are something that is a feature of Figma that Figma has come up with. Figma variables can be used in two ways. Either we can use it as design token, or we can utilize them to create advanced prototyping. Earlier, there were no, I would say, functionality in Figma where we could have actually created, though it has interactive property, interactive component kind of a thing, but still you cannot link two things separately and get it animated. Obviously, that's a part of Figma, advanced prototyping. We won't be discussing that. Today, we will be talking about design tokens specifically. That too, the type that we are going to talk about would be the colors. We are not going to get into other types. Obviously, we'll mention what are the types, but we will be getting practical hands-on on the color side itself, because that is, I would say, the most complex thing when you are working around the tokens. Okay, let's go about the Figma variables definition. Variables are reusable definition like styles that can be assigned to various design attributes like colors, numbers, and strings. However, unlike styles, variable can switch between definition depending upon the theme that is applied. Let me simplify this for you. We have variables, we have styles in Figma, right? Variables is the style with the use case. If you define anything, let's suppose you have color 800, right? Or let's suppose you have orange 800. Along with orange 800, if you are adding any particular use case to it, then that means that you are utilizing variables. If you see, whereas in styles, you can actually have one-to-one mapping, whereas in variables, you can have one-to-many mapping. What does this mean, right? I'm pretty much sure that if you have used Figma, you must have, gone through, you must have defined styles earlier, right? In styles, let's suppose if we have anything, we have a rectangle here, we have a rectangle here. I'll again bring up my uh, editor mode, okay? Let's suppose I want to fill a color. Uh, it says brand color is orange, okay? So this is a style, right? I'll show you whatever I have defined here. It says color styles. Color styles are always represented by circles. Whereas if you see the variables are defined by squares. Okay. So I have actually connected this with a brand primary style, and that is a color, right? Again, I'll break it. I'll use this color, brand primary. Whereas if I use this and I go and I have used a orange color, orange 300, and that is a variable, right? Even I can have text, right? And let's have a different, and let's have the same color to it, like we have in this one and this one, right? If I change this primary style, then both the things are changing, right? Both the things are changing. So that is like we have mapped this thing with this rectangle and this thing with the text. And if we change this style, everything will be changed. Whereas I have defined orange 300, I've linked it with the variable. Now I will have a text here. I will, instead of linking it with the brand primary color, I will link it with, I'll go to, let's suppose I link it with the same color I can link it with. Okay. So what we can see over here, if I change the color, this is linked with orange 300 and this is linked with button surface. Let's do this. Okay. Let's link it with border primary. This is content primary. This is button surface. And this would be, let's take it as content primary. So what we are doing here is we are linking this with the variables. Now, if I change this color, only this will change. If I change this color, content primary, only this will change. I'll tell you how this all is happening, right? These are actually getting their colors from the color palette, like which we have already defined the variables earlier. So in this whole concept, these things are getting connected to a single thing, where else if I change this color, let's suppose this is taking the color of gray 900. If I change this color to maybe something, okay, I'm not sure. This got changed. If I connect it with this thing, so basically this both represent two same colors. If you see, this has a hex code of this, orange 300 have a hex code of this. If I go to tokens, this is actually content button surface primary represent to orange 300, content primary represent to gray 900. In this gray 900, we have pasted this color, right? So if in case I change this color, let's suppose if I change this color, only this thing will change because it is connected with this variable. Though the colors are same, but it is connected with different variables. So that is the meaning of multiple linking, right? I will get it back to this gray which we had earlier because it is already set up in that way. So this is the concept of one-to-many and one-to-one mapping. So when you say styles, you can link any particular style to multiple objects, but as you change that particular style, everything will change. Whereas in variables, you can define the use case. You might have the same value for multiple things, but if you define the use cases, it will be one-to-many mapping. It will get more clearer as we will define and we'll use it in for the presentation. One important thing we need to understand in variables only stores raw value. Like if I see this is a particular variable and it only has a hex code, we cannot even make it a gradient. We cannot have multiple values to it. We cannot have a combination of few fill colors. Where else in styles you can have that. How we can have that? Let's suppose we have a rectangle. We had a fill color and it says red. Another, I have this, a kind of a gradient on top of it. Let's increase the opacity of the same. And yeah. So if you see, so this is a style, right? And I can even go ahead and define this style. Let's suppose linear red gradient. So this contains this style, but we cannot have anything of this sort in the variables yet. Apart from this variable, obviously variable doesn't have gradient, variable cannot have multiple values, variable can't even have opacities. Variable can just have the colors, the raw colors. Let's dive into the types of variable. We can get back why do we even need those variable. It's kind of a repetitive thing, but I'll help you understand why we need it, where we need it. So types of variables, if you see, we have colors. We can define numbers into it. We can define texting. Texting would be whatever is written in the button, whatever text, or maybe the commonly used text you have it in your design. And another is Boolean. Boolean is basically you can switch things on and off. You can, you can on the visibility of a particular layer. You can off it depending upon various scenarios, right? Okay, why do we even need variables, right? How this is going to help us? Like I said, we define design system to have consistency throughout the product, irrespective of how many pages there are, irrespective of how many designers are working on. Your product should be consistent. Your product cannot, have a different set of primary buttons or maybe different type of primary button in different areas, right? Same, moving on, it reduces the miscommunication, right? If you know that there will be a primary button coming in, then you know which button to use and how to use it, right? Because it is all defined in the design system. Like I said, it's not difficult to create things. It's always difficult to maintain things and obviously make changes in the future. Editing and maintaining are the most complex things when things get scaled up after a certain point of time. You cannot, select all the buttons throughout your product and change the color of it, right? You need to have certain things in place or maybe certain system in place where you can change the color at one place and it get reflected to other 10 places. That is what the design system and design token is all about. Like I said, designers' focus should not be on the UI problem. They should be focusing on solving a particular problem. Let's suppose we have to come up with a new feature, how we are going to set up the whole page, how we are going to set up so that, it's going to be easier for user to understand it. And at the end of the day, obviously, like we all work with the engineers, we work with the developers, right? And it's super complex to make them understand like how things are moving in the design side. So we develop a design system so that they can develop design system at their end and they can pick components from their coded files and reuse it on the product. And obviously to reduce or maybe to have the design and code parity, whatever you are designing, however you are designing in that particular screen, it should be reflected the same in the code as well. This can be achieved only if we have very clear communication between the both. We have very clear communication, what components we are using, how we are using, what are the colors. And if you have already defined everything at the top, then obviously everyone's job gets easier, right? We have already discussed about the variable types, right? If you see this button has a surface, this button has a stroke, there is a text in between. We even have an icon that directs toward the backside. If we see this F2FF00 hex code of this button surface, right? If you see this 000000, that is black, which is of stroke, content text, and even on the icon side, right? These are the colors, right? So you can see like this color is being used by the stroke. Okay. I'm not sure what is this. Manish, can you help me? Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. So if you see, this has only one use case over here, that is the surface of the button. Whereas this black color have multiple purpose. It is the color of the text that is written on the button. It is color of the stroke that is around the button. Even this icon has the same color, right? So this is like, we need to define this color as a variable, and we will be defining its use case as well. Moving forward, we have the corner radius, right? So corner radius is, it's going to be a number, right? It it says 8. So this 8 is the corner radius, and that is a number. Again, horizontal padding, the distance from this to the boundary of the button, it says we have somewhere around horizontal padding, we have 120, right? So this is horizontal padding that we have. Again, it's a number. We have 12 vertical padding. Again, it's a number. So these two are the types of variables what we can define in Figma. One is color, another is number. Third is string. String is basically this text. We define string so that we can use it again and again. Let's suppose we have a particular thing that it's going to be repetitive throughout the design. It could be back button, it could be a CTA, it could be enroll now kind of a thing. Even it could be a heading, it could be a paragraph, it could be anything. We can define all of those things under string type, and we can reuse it again and again. And the Boolean, like I said, Boolean is like the visibility of the particular component and whatever element we can, apply these things on. Okay. Now we will get into how we can define variables. Now we are actually going to get our hands on how we can define variable. If you have any question, we can take those up right now, and then we can move on to this thing. Manish, do we have any question as of now?
Not yet, but if
Achha.
anyone has questions, they can just put it up on the chat. So far, all good.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, now we'll see how we can define tokens. What are the different ways we can define what should be, how to go about it actually. To define those tokens, either we'll press escape to deselect everything, or we'll just, if anything is selected, we'll just, click on the canvas, and we'll go to this button here. This looks like a setting button which says open variables, right? I've already defined a couple of things over here. So to build this presentation, and you guys can understand how things go, right? Okay. Let's suppose this orange color, which I'm using, this hex code is my brand color. And I need to define variables about it. Okay. Let's go from here. We'll go to create collection. And let's suppose we say session, right? Though whenever we define the base tokens, either we name it as primitive, or we just say it as colors, where we have all the colors. Like I've already mentioned, we have colors in which I've already mentioned all the colors. There are spacing, where I've already mentioned all the spacing we can utilize, or maybe we use in our design. Another thing is text, where I haven't added much, right? Because there were nothing much to actually get into this. I didn't have anything as Boolean, but we even can have Boolean here itself. And we can mention the, like, do we want to show that particular text in the button or not, right? If I say text visible, it is false. That means it is the primary, or maybe the default state would be like it is not there, right? If I'm going to keep it true, that means the text visible, the primary state or the default state would be, it would be there. Okay, let's go back to the session, right? Or even we can rename it and we can say it primitive. Primitive, if you understand the word about primitive, primitive is like the building blocks of anything, right? We have primitive shapes, right? Primitive shapes are your circle, rectangle, the basic shapes, which we cannot even break down further, or which actually help us, just create multiple or maybe more complex things. That's why we call it primitive. Okay. Here we are going to define a color. Like I said, we will be only talking about colors, as this is the only, like the colors are the most complex thing that we need to understand. If we got this, obviously everything else would be easy peasy. Okay, we'll click on color. We got a color, we got a hex code. I'll copy this hex code from here. I'll paste it here. So this says, yeah, I got this color. I can even say, I can even name this, instead of, saying, you can say writing the hex code over there, we can write orange 300. That's we do to define the tonal value. Like I said, 300 is the tonal value. To understand this, you need to understand the color theory as well. So this is basically the base of our system. This would define like everything else in our system. Okay, I've used orange 300, right? And this is the value. You can see this is the value represent this orange 300. Now, further, what I'll do, I'll take it a step further and I define surface primary. Surface primary that I can use it on this button surface. I won't be defining this in this collection, as whatever I'm going to add in this collection, that would be primarily the base of my thing. We are going a step ahead. We are now going to define the purpose or the use case of that particular colors, right? So what I'll do, I'll maybe, create another collection. I'll go and I say, I can say session tokens. Okay. I will create another color value, and this would be surface primary. Instead of writing the hex code over here, I will simply click on this. I'll go to my libraries. Now I'll find out where that particular color is. We use primitive as a collection name. So we will be using this orange 300. So this is basically aliasing of a name, right? Alias, right? The surface primary is the alias of this orange 300. Let's suppose if someone says we need to change the button of the color, you won't say that we need to change orange 3. You will simply say we need to change surface primary, because if you change orange 3, as we move further, we will be using this orange 3 for multiple use cases, like I said, right? We can even use it for content primary. We can even use it for border primary. We can use it for any use case, right? So if we just need to change this color, we will mention that we need to change surface primary, okay? We have defined surface primary. To go one step deeper, or you can say to go one step higher, where you can actually define things on a component basis. Now we are actually adding button to one name. So these are basically the names that define to this particular variable. This is button surface color, right? Or we can say button surface primary. Okay. So what we are doing, we are defining colors on the basis of components. This was on the basis of use case, where we can use it. We can use it on surface of a button. We can use it on the surface of any card. We can use it on the surface of any, I would say, section. We can use it wherever we have the surface. But in that case, what challenge would be if we need to change the surface of particular button, then if we change this surface color, it will change everywhere else wherever we have used it. That's why we define this component level as well. Again, like we have orange 300, we can use this orange 300 for content primary. I will create another colored variable. Okay, it says content primary. Again, I will reference the same color. Okay. And again, we have defined that button content primary is like whatever button we have in that particular button, whatever content we have, it has this color. Okay. That's why it's red over here. And that's how I have defined over here. If you want to, see how we have defined things, if you see this black color has content primary in it, right? I haven't, got into the component level. Generally, we defined till third level. Fourth level is more or less done by the company or more or less done by the team who are, getting into the specifics. As a designer, we can go till the third level and we can, get the stuff done, right? So I have used this surface color as content primary, right? And here we have button surface primary. So we have this color. If I see the color of this, we have content primary. And this is actually coming from these tokens. The content primary, the color is black. Button surface primary, the color is orange. We have used it over here. And on this side, what we have done, we have actually used content primary as the color for the surface. So this is not properly set up, I would say, just to showcase that we can have the button content primary of orange color. That's why we have, selected this, the surface color as content primary, right? Even we can, instead of this, we can go about this. Or we can, what we can do, we can define another, button surface secondary. Okay, obviously, like you need to define primary, secondary, tertiary, elevated. You need to define disabled, error. Every case needs to be defined. Like that's why we say like we are defining these things on the basis of use case. These are defined on the basis of components, right? So now I have button surface secondary, right? What I'll do, I'll go ahead and I'll use this gray 900. So what I'm doing is instead of having CTA content primary, I'll have button surface secondary. Okay, so this is the secondary color. This is the primary button surface color. On top of it, we have this content primary color. If you see, this is content primary. Here comes the content primary. We can even have, in this case, we have button surface primary just to showcase that, we are using this orange color. We can even define color which says button content secondary, and we can use we will be using orange 300. And what we can do, we can go ahead here and we can use this color. So now, as per the use case and as per the component, now the naming makes sense, right? Earlier, it was like just to show how things gonna be segregated, we have used it. But here the use case got different. This is gone on the secondary side. This is gone on the primary side. Okay. So this is how we have actually defined variables, and we have used multiple mapping over here. Same color can be, used in multiple ways. It can go on the surface. It can go on the content side. Moving on, right? When we define styles, right? Styles, let's suppose we have this color. We have defined one color, like I have shown you earlier. If this button is actually connected with the brand primary style, as soon as I change this hex code, this gets changed. Or even if you want to name it as an orange 400, this will change. So this kind of get clubs and comes under brand primary. Like if you see brand primary details, edit style. So hex codes are not matching. That's totally okay, I would say. Like just to understand the concept, like we have the hex code over here. So basically this brand primary is representing this color, and we can only have it one-on-one mapping. Let's suppose even if we have a secondary button, right? Then if we change this color, these both will change, and we cannot, align. We can obviously define another style for this use case, but it will actually create a mess as we keep on defining the use cases. We will be keep on defining the colors, and we will be keep on changing the names. let's suppose we want to, differentiate between these two things, right? What I'll do, I'll again define this color. I'll add this. I won't go into the collection. I will define the style. I will say button secondary, sorry, button surface. Now, when I have different color aligned to this, different style aligned to this, though the colors are same, but the names are different, then only I can actually change these things. So they are not getting the source from a single point, right? The source of the colors and the hex code are the same, but the source, if you see, are different over here. Whereas in this case, if I change this orange color, everything else will change, whatever is in the orange. Let me show you that. If you see, we have button surface says orange 300. We have button content says orange 300. If I go on the colors, if I change this color, whatever is linked with that particular variable gets changed. This is not changing because it is not connected. Let me connect that as well. Okay. Okay. So this got connected. Let's connect these two as well. So these are connected to the styles. We'll detach this. We'll go to the libraries and we'll connect it with the orange theme. Got it? So now if you see, if we are changing this, the whole thing are changing. Okay. Let's undo this. And let's define these things again. If I just need to change this button, and obviously I don't want to change this, I'll go to the colors. I'll go to the tokens. I'll change this color. I'll detach this. I'll play around with this color. So only these two things are changing. This also should be connected. Okay. Yeah, this is connected perfectly fine. So only these two things are changing. So this is how actually the design tokens and the variables work in real life. Okay. So if we see, right, styles got one-to-one mapping. If we need to change the color, we need to, if we maybe need to link it with the new particular button, we need to change the name of that button, right? Okay. Is there any question till now, how we can connect things, how we can, detach things, what are the difference between variables and style? Post this, I think we have modes. Yeah, we have modes where we'll be talking about, like, I think you must have seen cool LinkedIn post and Twitter post where people are actually just dragging some piece of design into a frame and the color gets getting changed, right? We will be discussing about that as well. So till then, if you have, like, before moving further, if you have any question, we can go about it. We can address them.
No questions so far, Anshul. I think all good.
Got it. Perfect, perfect. Okay, moving on. Now, one cool thing that we do on this token thing is, like, we can define modes. Like, let's go back to the session tokens, right? So let's have this as light mode, and another we can have dark mode. By clicking on this plus button, which is on the column side, we can add new variable mode, right? By adding this button, we can create variables. So why do we create mode? We are creating mode so that we can define what color will change into what if we are going to use it in dark mode, or maybe in some different contrasting mode, right? Let's suppose we have orange in the light. We can have somewhere around, where are the colors? Yeah, we can use something darker in the, dark. obviously, if we are having some, we have bright background and we have bright, then we can go about like having a dark background and dark. Obviously, it depends upon the use case, what colors we are using. And same goes with this, right? We can use different colors. I've already set up this. I already have defined this. Like if you see, we have content primary, we have input border color. Okay, we have button surface, and if you see, if I drag this over here, all the colors are changing. So how this is happening, right? Let me take out of this. Okay, so you can define modes. Either you can define modes on the complete page, or you can define modes on particular frame level. If you want to define the modes in the complete page, then you have to go here. This is page option. You have to go here and you will select what all themes you have to apply for. If you see in this, we are using the tokens. We are using all the variables from this particular collection, right? So if I go and if I select this and if I select on dark, then this automatically changes. That means whatever collection we have name as tokens, we will be using dark colors or maybe dark mode. So whatever button surface primary color has in the light mode, it will automatically changes to the dark mode. Okay. If we make it light, it goes back to that particular thing. It goes back to this. So basically this color is changing to brown. If I see the card has card surface primary is going from gray 50 to gray 900. That's why we are changing. That's we are seeing dark mode. Okay. Same goes with the border, same goes with the text. Everything is set up in a way like where we are getting, let's suppose border primary is getting changed from orange to orange. We can say, okay, card surface content primary is changing from black to white. So that all is happening just because we have defined the modes on this particular thing. If we make it auto, then by default, it will have this light color. The first mode would be automatically inherited. Okay. Now I said we can define modes or maybe theme in the page view or maybe on the page level. Another thing would be we can define it into the particular frame level. If we change this frame mode, right, this will again be changed. We have token. So it will not show the collection which are not being used here. We have used text, color, spacing. That's why it's showing. We have used tokens. That's why it's showing. Again, if I go about light, it's already light. If I change it to dark, it's going to get changed to dark. And the cool part comes in, like this is the group, or maybe you can say this is a, we have this dark mode written over here. If we move it to this card to inside this frame, that's why it's getting changed. If we simply change it to light, we'll get, back to the whatever format it was. So this is how modes work. If I talk about the colors, if you're making light, it's actually, I'm not pretty much sure what colors it is showing. It is basically, okay, this is the color example. It's okay. So if I take it out and based on the, like the mode of that particular thing, right? The color of that particular mode, the background is also changing because it says card surface primary, right? If I get into it, if I use it dark, this is changing because we have already defined within tokens, like the card surface primary gonna be gray 900, okay? So yeah, this is the cool thing that we can do. We can do it with multiple things. We can even define the whole landing page. We can even have the buttons. We can have multiple things and we can, define these things. So this is all in all about the very basic of variables. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss about variables, how we can use it, what could be the naming convention, or like how even to set up the hierarchy of the things, what all we should be defining. So there is like plethora of knowledge what we can actually go about it. Obviously, we had limited time, so we have covered this till now. Obviously, I would suggest you guys to go back and go through these on your own. Try to have define some variables, try to define some styles and use them together. Obviously, design system cannot be completed without using the styles and or like without just using the variables, right? We need to have styles also. So yeah, in future we might have variables where we can do all of the stuff, whatever we can do with styles. But as of now, whatever we have, we really need to use all of these, defining capabilities into our design systems. So yeah, over to you, Manish. We can have questions. We can even discuss about a couple of things. If anyone wants, we can even, get into advanced, a bit of prototyping, how we can utilize these things and, maybe get the prototyping done.
Cool. So we do have one question. I don't know if you can see a chat.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so via design system, can we make breakpoints for responsive design too? Yeah, we can. We can do that. If you see, like, let's go on to some panel. If you see, this particular icon resembles um variables, right? We can set 1280 is the width of that particular the whole frame, right? We can define breakpoints like till 360 will have the mobile design, till particular thing will have a tab, for 1440 will have a desktop version. We can define the breakpoints on basic, and along with that, obviously we need to play around with the auto layout stuff. Like if you see on the auto layout, we need to use wrap, right? Like let's suppose if we have a fixed width, then the all the cards or all the content would be shifted to the next line. So with the, like, obviously it would be mixture of everything where we can define the breakpoints. And I would say obviously it's a bit complex. You need to first understand all of these things, how you can maybe utilize one thing with the another. This is just about the variables, that's why we haven't covered that. But yeah, we can definitely achieve it. We can even define, let's suppose if the breakpoint, or maybe if we have something on the mobile, right? What kind of radius, or maybe the roundness we are going to have it for the particular card, what could be the size of a particular thing, so on and so forth.
cool.
Can we have an example, please, Sagar? I think it will take us some time to actually set up that particular thing, because obviously you need to define all the, I would say, breakpoint. You need to define the particular, the sizing, the width. Along with that, you need to, have a proper definition of the constraint as well within the component. So yeah, I don't think so we have that kind of time, but we can address this in maybe the upcoming workshop.
So there's also a question from Kunal.
Mhm.
Do you want to take a look at it?
Yeah, sure. If I created variables in one Figma file and now I want to use it in another, how can I use it for other files? Currently, it's everything is a local, so we cannot do that as of now. But you can do that with the styles. You can have the global style, which everyone, in your organization, or if you have, access given to particular people, they can use in multiple files. Though when it comes to variables, we don't have that kind of, capability to use these variables into the other file. That being said, obviously, let's suppose if you are defining any component and copying that component to some other file, these get reflected to those. So what I'm saying is, like, you cannot actually export this as of now and integrate into some other file. But what you can do is, let's suppose I have defined the variables over here, right? Okay. If you're gonna just copy this and use it in your file, then all the variables and all the styles would go along with it, and you can change it. But if you don't have the access of the source file, you won't alter it, or eventually you have to detach it and you have to create it on your own.
Okay, there was also a question from Sagar. I think it was,
Mhm.
how can he create a toggle button for changing the modes.
How can you create the toggle button changing the modes? Okay. Like you want to create it as a prototype or like how you want it?
I don't know if Sagar is here, but feel free to unmute yourself, Sagar, and have a conversation.
For prototype, it's very simple, I guess. Like for prototype, let's suppose you have this car, right? This, and what you're going to do, you're going to do this car, right? And we have a frame over here. I don't like light theme, so that's my bias, I would say. Leave this. And let's suppose so this is the pretty basic thing. If you click on this particular thing, this goes to this. And if you again click on this, this goes to this. Obviously, like the position are changing, you can even make it center. If we make, yeah, you can do this. Where is Sagar does that in, can you make it more smoothly like in app? Yeah, we can do that. We can create that. Right now, what we are doing is we are just changing the states, right? To have that kind of feature where we are, having a proper smart animate, we can create an interactive component where we click on a particular thing. Like suppose if we have this, right? Okay, sorry. We have this, we'll create it as a component, we'll even add it as a component. We can have it, okay. On click, it's gonna be smart animated. Okay. I need to check into this if we can, have a condition over here. And if we're doing this, okay. Okay. Mhm. I think no, we cannot have that kind of feature. Like whatever you are saying on the clock, if we, on the click, if we can actually switch all the colors, we don't have that kind of feature as of now. I hope it is clear, Sagar. Because we cannot alter the modes. We can alter the way the values, right? Perfect, perfect.
Cool. If there are any more questions, feel free to reach out to Anshul. He is available on LinkedIn. You can, of course, search and find him on LinkedIn. I will also share his LinkedIn profile on the YouTube description. We will upload this video on YouTube, and you can also watch it as many times as you want. Just to recap, this session was possible because of Open Bootcamp and Anshul, who is from Minimal Tweaks. If you are keen on learning UX and UI design, please check out uxuiopen.com. And Anshul, do you want to add something else in the end to wrap it up?
Nothing as such, but I would definitely encourage you guys to go home, like wherever you obviously you guys are at home. Do do practice this. It's not gonna be retained by your mind for too long if you're not going to, get your hands onto it, right? It is a complex thing, but it is super useful. Trust me. Like initially, it might look uh, a bit challenging to even understand what I'm speaking or whatever I'm saying, right? But once you get good hold of it, it's definitely gonna change everything. So yeah, do try it, and yeah, do reach out to me. Like if you guys are looking forward for such more sessions, I will be having advanced prototyping session as well in future. I do have a community as well where we all actually connect and we all discuss about design, what all we can do with design. So pretty much very cool stuff, whatever we can do with design, right? So yeah, do reach out to me. We'll get you inside the community, and we will obviously we'll have a good time there as well.
Thank you so much, Anshul, and thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye bye, Manish. Bye guys, have a great day.
Bye, everyone.